today I have the pleasure to be joined by some fellow addicts of mine that I've known for quite a while and just for a couple days, but they both have addictions that run longer than that. And I just want to go around the room and say thanks for joining everybody. I'll start with you. To my video screen right, we've got Ross Moormeyer.
It's going great, man. Excited for this episode. Everson mentioned it to me, so happy to be on, and thanks for having me, buddy.
I appreciate you so much and for coming on. And Cody, how are you doing today, man?
Oh, great, man. Just stoked to be here to talk about some jerseys.
Heck yeah. And Ross and Cody, I know from being a part of another podcast that I'm really proud to be a part of called On the Bench with Beaks. And this whole episode is actually a collaboration episode with On the Bench with Beaks because recently our podcast interviewed Milan Hejduk. And during that episode, we were
Woohoo!
able to ask him about his jersey retirement ceremony. And so I wanted to make an episode that included stories from around the Jersey addicts we know out there that in some way had jersey retirement baked into it. And so far, I haven't even introduced everyone being on this call, but Ross, you went to the Kariya jersey retirement ceremony and then followed that up with going to the Hockey Hall of Fame induction. And then Cody, you've been to Milan Hejduk's jersey retirement and did it from his suite. So that's going to be incredible. And then we've got a Vancouver Canucks fan with us that I am so glad can share his experience of what it was like going to the Sedin's retirement because it was something I desperately wanted to be able to do. So I'd also love to welcome onto the podcast ShadowNet. So ShadowNet, thanks for coming. Say hello.
Hi, and yeah, it's great to be here. And honestly, the chance to talk about like a retirement ceremony attendance is something I'm excited about. So nice to be on.
Thank you so much for coming. And so we're going to go around the room, get everyone's perspective from their respective ceremony attendances. And then we're also going to get into some Jersey trivia because what episode would be complete without that? And then we're going to cut to the footage that we recorded last week of some questions with Milan Hejduk that are specifically related to hockey jerseys. Not the whole episode because that's not relevant to this podcast. But if you like what you're hearing, I highly recommend that you check out On the Bench with Beaks. And I definitely don't have a biased opinion about that whatsoever.
Not one
So,
bit.
without further ado, I want to go age before beauty here, of course. And I think that puts Ross up first for us to dive into his details on his attendance at. I don't know what you want to start with because I might even have the order wrong, but it's all you, bud. Take the mic and let us know what it was like.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna start with the Hockey Hall of Fame one. I heard that Selanne and Kariya got inducted on the same ballot, and everybody it was unanimous. And I think it's kind of cool because really around in the '90s and everything, you didn't go anywhere without hearing about the dynamic duo, quote unquote. You've got PK and you got the Finnish Flash on the other side, and they just complemented each other to no end, which I loved seeing growing up. It was just fast paced, good, high scoring hockey. So just to see, well, Lanny McDonald and everybody else in the Hockey Hall of Fame, like higher ups, all vote majority of, and you had Andrew Chuck too, which he's no slouch at all. And he's an amazing person. I got to meet him up there, but just to have you don't ever see that both players on the same line going into the Hockey Hall of Fame together. And I was just like, I have to go. I have to. So.
Well, I know one other set of players on the same line going into the hall together will be the Sedins, just because, they're twins and we all expect just like how their jerseys were retired together, they will go into the Hall of Fame together too. But I freaking loved those guys because dude, there was like like the Sedin chemistry, you understand they're twins. Like,
Yeah.
people say they literally share the same brain, and it's like, here's a dude from Finland and another small guy, from Canada, and they had better chemistry than any 2 players I had ever seen in the league growing up in the '90s.
Oh yeah.
And here's the thing, there's a few older people out there that are actually gonna say, "You know who was first was Yari Curry and Wayne Gretzky." And
Oh yeah.
damn it, I wish I was old enough to draw the comparison because that was an incredible dynamic duo as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
I wonder if people think of Kariya and Selanne as, like, the second thing of that, and it makes them really happy. So, I mean, like, we didn't get to see Yari Curry and Gretzky, so for
Oh
us,
no.
this blew our minds, right? And
Oh
the
yeah.
Sedins hadn't come along yet either, so for, like, setting the stage, this was like, "Holy crap, like, what is going on?"
Oh, well, and you know me as a Ducks fan, dude. At any game that I was able to see on the TV, I was doing the Happy Gilmore, just riding the hockey stick like a pony every time they scored, dude. Which was quite a bit, man. I've just loved seeing them and playing for my hometown, Anaheim, or I guess area. But
Sure.
yeah, it was just great to watch them go into the Hall of Fame together. Which hats off to the Hockey Hall of Fame like committee, because that was top notch to put two great ambassadors of hockey from the same line in on the same day. Like that meant so much to them. Not even the franchise or anything, which was cool, really cool for the franchise. Don't get me wrong, but for those guys to have a special career and then also have a special moment to top off both of their careers, I mean, I couldn't say no to that, honestly.
It's hard to say no to that, especially knowing your fandom. I mean, I'm living in Denver at the time, and I'm debating the cost of going to see the Sedin ceremony because I just can't think of not going, but at the same time, I know it's out of the question. But what I love about the the Selanne Korea situation as well is like they don't end their careers on the same year. So they
No.
officially go on the ballots at different times, but they did get inducted at the same time. And that's just like a happy ending.
Oh, yeah. Like, they were basically brothers, honestly. And as you said, you have the Sedin twins, like, they're twins, obviously. But you got two guys coming from two separate parts of the world and then just coming in and just being dynamite together. Like, and you couldn't talk about one without the other. I mean, that's something you don't see a whole lot in the nowadays NHL. It was, I don't know. You kind of get what I'm saying. It was like that
Totally.
weird aura. Yeah, like they fit together like just puzzle pieces, man. Like
And
you're mine, I'm yours. We're each other's missing piece. Let's go out and, I mean, pardon my French. Let's go out and fuck some shit up, dude.
oh, they took the league by storm for sure. And I mean, to that point you just raised about that being a thing that could only happen kind of back then, you know, they still like they got to go to Colorado together. Like at a
Oh
time
yeah,
where that was still kind of affordable because the cap was not really existing, right? And so you were able to bring the dynamic duo to two guys that, were chasing cups.
oh yeah.
Like I never really want to remember Selanne in an Avalanche jersey.
No, same
But
with
at the same
Korea,
time, like,
dude.
I would have been totally okay with him winning another cup with them because I
Oh
respect the
yeah,
hell out of both of those guys, you know?
yeah. If both of them won a cup in Colorado, like you can't balk at that at all. I mean, the guys went and got the hardest trophy to win in sports. Period. I mean, you had the same kind of idea about the whole Scott Niedermayer coming over too. So,
Yes,
because
yeah. From the
God,
Devils,
yes,
sure.
that team meant so much to him because he got to win a cup with his brother. That was recently in 2007 that they're the only brother duo to recently win a cup. Just that, mind you.
That just makes me think of 2011 for some reason again, because
Yeah,
it would have
which
been the
they could
Sedins
have.
if they won. God damn it.
Yep, I was rooting for them in that sense because that's cool. That's a cool feat, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
who's
really
able
cool.
to like share that with your brother, like that you even played with growing up, like consistently?
Yeah, I mean,
So
like, there were 8 Sutters in the league, it seems like, at one point. I don't know if any won with each other or the
yeah,
Espositos are coming to mind, but
yeah,
I'd
but
have to check
I'm
on
just
that, but
talking about in that kind of era, like, because you didn't
totally.
have, yeah, especially because he went up to the same mountain that he took his original Stanley Cup picture on and did it with his
Wow.
brother as well.
Oh
So,
man.
yeah, like, there's many moments with that, and I feel that that's something. I don't know. I'm kind of getting a little choked up, but especially if you win it with a sibling. I mean,
Oh, hell yeah.
that's gotta just hit home more.
I definitely wanna turn to the retirement ceremony, but I feel, Ross, that your experience at the Hall of Fame is more rare among people listening.
I went in and just had basic tickets to the actual dinner, which is great. All you can eat, all you can drink, 5-star stuff. They treat everybody like kings there. Like you are no less of a person for being there, just enjoying it.
Oh, that's
That's
so
what I
cool.
love.
So, like, for fans that feel like the only way to do it is to go to the induction ceremony, that's not at all what you were doing. You were going to the dinner afterwards.
No, I was going to the dinner before, and I get to see the
Oh.
book getting brought out and everything after the ceremony. And you get to see the
Oh.
players walk through and go and sign the book, basically. So I was at that
Oh.
dinner, and it's in the Hockey Hall of Fame, everyone.
Oh, what? That's so
Yes.
cool.
So you're getting like got halves of lobster. Like I didn't even know what it was. I just told them to put it on my plate. Everything was so good. But I just got the base tickets just to go out and possibly meet players, talk to people. That's where I ran into these 2 interns that they were able to see the induction ceremony. Well, and I was telling them, oh, I flew all the way out from Colorado to watch Paul Kariya and Selanne, my 2 favorite players, retire together, and just we talked and just BS'd for a little bit. I went my way, had a smoke upstairs, and that is where I ran into Todd Sawatsky's wife, Tiffany. I met up with her, and she goes, "You need to meet up with my husband. He's a nut. You'd love him." I met up with him. He and David Stubbs, his friend, and Tiffany's friend met up, and they made that whole entire thing that much better. I got to meet Pierre Turgeon. God, I'm trying to think of. You always forget the guy who holds the Stanley Cup. Uh,
Oh, you're talking
um,
about blonde-haired Phil with the white gloves?
yes, he's
Nice.
got the softest hands I've ever touched, dude. I'm having beers with Glenn Healy. It's such a surreal experience, and you can't imagine being there. I was walking on air. Like, it's such a good experience. But while that's all happening, I went back up to get a breath of fresh air, and those interns were looking for me. They came up and they went, "Hey, the induction's about to start. We have to go into the office tomorrow. Go watch your guys get inducted."
What?
So yeah, they just gave because they like their company just gets 2 tickets to the induction ceremony every single year, and they just got chosen. So I got to go and see both of them, the dynamic duo, just get inducted. Like that was a special moment, and also they do a game as well.
Yes. Yep.
And I got to see them both play because one was for the world and one was for Canada. So yeah, you got to see them make a trade, quote unquote, and you got to actually see them play for the last time that they will ever play, probably on the ice as well. So, and that's where I met Carlos, who I was like, dude, Ducks are gonna raise his number to the rafters here soon. As soon as it is happening, we're flying out to California, and I'm gonna show you all my old stomping grounds and stuff like that. So
That's dope because like
and it happened the next year. And he was sitting right next to me.
that's so awesome. Was he the guy that got the other ticket?
Well, no. He bought those on his own, and you just get a random ticket for the game.
Okay.
And it was great.
Oh, he was next to you at the game. I got
Yeah.
you. Okay.
So I had a Selanne jersey on from Winnipeg, and he had a Kariya jersey on. So it was weird. It worked out, and we just sparked a conversation that way, man. And I still talk to him this day. He's a good guy. Like, yeah, love him to death. But
That's
yeah,
really cool.
I love how we make all these connections to the hockey community just from this one experience.
So you guys fly to go see Kariya get his number raised to the rafters? Is that the deal the next year?
Yeah, and I was gonna do the Niedermeyer one, but I spent a little bit too much on the Paul Kariya one, which that's fine. He was, for Carlos and I, we're not big guys, so our favorite player, who's a tiny guy, getting his number respected by the franchise that loved him and it meant the most to him was number one, because that's who we remember being the Ducks captain growing up, and he just loved Paul Kariya. So once it happened, we made all the arrangements and everything, showed up way early because they did a special giveaway to, well, you had to donate a certain amount to get these sticks that replicates his Easton design that he had, and then you got to go and meet Paul Kariya and like that, because you were supposed to meet him at the Hockey Hall of Fame, but they kind of flip-flopped around with their wording, and we didn't get to meet him. So I was determined at that point, like, we're going to do that. And Carlos and I kind of ran through the crowd a little bit and got both of our sticks. We got to talk to him, and it was great. We were probably 5 rows up from the ice. So we got to see everything. I don't know. The whole day was just, I don't know. I'm still elated about it. As you can tell, I'm jumping all over. But
yeah, Russ, I love this story already. Just because I expected you to be talking about the actual ceremony itself, but what you're talking about is more just additions to what I expected. And I love about what you were able to do is what Cody had and what I said I wish I had. And I think what we all want, mostly out of these jersey retirement ceremonies. I don't want to speak for you, but I think why I would love to go to one of these things is because just the idea of given the opportunity to like shake their hand, look in their eye, and tell them what they meant to me would be an opportunity I would pay for, because it means a lot to me to give them the experience for a second that they gave me for a lifetime.
Oh yeah, as I told him when I met him, and I started tearing up, that to meet your childhood idol and just be able to tell him what the hell he meant to you and the actual sport that you love. I mean, for true hockey fans, that you can't get any better than that. I mean, I know Cody has done that like just on a different level, and that gets me choked up too. For Milan, tip of the hat for Milan, just to do everything that he's done for that whole entire spectrum with Cody and Dog Nation and everything. But yeah, for me, that was my childhood idol. I went up and told him what he meant for me, like the franchise, and even just the sport itself and his country. he meant a lot to just every facet of hockey that he touched. We had like seats, what was it? I think it was like fifth or sixth row right off the ice. So we got to see the whole entire ceremony and everything even up close. Which, I mean, I saw the Hejduk ceremony way up in the rafters. If you've been to one, it's great. They do something individually for each player. I will speak on that. They make it unique for them, which I love. So they had all of his achievements on pucks and awards that he got, and he walked out. I mean, that's probably the loudest I've ever seen or heard, and the biggest crowd that I've seen at the Honda Center, because you met people that just loved him as a player for the franchise. So yeah,
I'll tell you what, Ross, like those two experiences are amazing. I know that Cody's just chomping at the bit to give us his experience as well. So Cody, as an Avs fan, I can imagine going to any game is great, but of all people, to see someone like Milan Hejduk's jersey retirement, and then you know the way that you experienced it is unbelievable. So, dude, please give us the insight. Tell us the story. We can't wait to hear it.
Oh, well, a year before they actually retired Milan's number, I actually started up one of those change.org petitions to get Milan's number started,
Oh,
retired.
cool.
Yeah, and everybody was. I was actually giving a lot of signatures, but it was actually announced like maybe 6 months after I had started it that Milan's number would be retired. So it was like, oh, sweet. Well, I guess I don't need to keep this petition going at all. So that was kind of like just like an ironic kind of thing that happened before that, and
I totally take credit for that. Oh, definitely me. Yeah,
like,
trendsetter
oh
for sure.
yeah, my that was my change org petition right there. That's what really got it going forward. So just as we were saying on the episode the other day, I mean, over 1,000 games in an Avalanche sweater. I mean, it was almost a no brainer for them to retire Milan's number.
Oh yeah. I mean, what an impressive resume for such an iconic player at that franchise, and he's played more games than anyone else for that franchise that has their number retired, and it's just he has so much respect in my book and across the Denver community and with the fans, and that's proof in your timing of being like, we need his retirement, his number retired, but oh look, they also are doing it perfect. Yep, we all recognize
It's
it.
Yeah, it was great, and it really felt good because I mean, Milan was always one of my favorite players back in the day. I mean, just watching him play with Peter Forsberg and Alex Tanguay, the amp line that was just, I
Mhm.
mean, it was something special that not a lot of people could say that they got to do, and I mean all the retired numbers for the Avalanche, it's like the pivotal like hockey line. You've got a center, you got two wings, two defensemen, and a goalie. Like that is the line, and I would not expect anybody other than Milan Hejduk to like fill that line. You know what I mean?
It is really cool that it's like that. Of the five players, it fills out a line, and I mean, it's such an easy way of looking at it too, because like it's fun to fantasize about, okay, what is the best all-time line at my franchise? And it's like, well, this is pretty easy as an Avalanche fan. Just look up in the rafters, boom, done.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And like I don't know. I just I don't know if they planned it that way, but I mean, damn, what correlation?
So when you got the news, that his number was going to be retired, did you immediately start making plans to figure out how you would be able to go? And
Oh,
what
absolutely.
was what were the next steps?
I was making sure my dad was going, my sister, her husband. I was making sure everybody was going. So I went and I sold a bunch of shit. So I got center ice tickets in the loge for my dad, my sister, my brother-in-law, and I to go. Which which is the crazy part because when it actually came closer to the time for the game, with Marty and Milan had already like came to my house to hang out and stuff like that uh, through Dog Nation and all that. I get like a phone call like a week before the game, and it's Marty, and he's saying, "Hey, so how would you like to be hanging out in the Dog Nation suite for Milan's retirement?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, of course I would." And so he says, "Yeah, hey, here's two tickets for for sitting in the suite." So now I've got a ticket. I've got four tickets and two extra suite tickets for this game, which is like, I mean, well, I mean, suites are great, but I mean, I was, the tickets that I got were right on the red line in the loge, which is, I mean, just an incredible uh, spot to watch a hockey game. And so Marty's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Milan Hejduk is actually going to be hanging out with us during this entire time." I'm like, "Oh, you're lying to me.
What?
You're not you're lying to me right now, bud." It's like, "No, yeah, Milan's gonna come and hang out with us in the suite and while during the game, and obviously he's gonna be down on the ice for the whole thing, but yeah, he's gonna be hanging out, drinking beers with us in the suite." And I'm like, "All right, so I'm just gonna give these tickets to everybody else, and I guess I'm gonna go hang out with Milan Hayden."
So let me ask you, like, as soon as you get told that you're gonna be drinking beers with Milan on one of what you know ahead of time is going to be a day that he remembers forever, are you just like, "I can't believe I get to share in this moment with him"?
I mean, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, definitely something I like. You almost like dream of. You're like, "Man, I wish I could be there hanging out with like the Sedin twins. I wish I could be hanging out with like it's almost like so surreal. It really is. It's just it's great to see it though. I mean, the entire time he was elated. I mean, has this huge smile on his face the entire time. It was, I mean, it's definitely something you'll never forget. At the same time, you look at it, you're like, this isn't real. I'm not right here right now. I went to the Peter Forsberg jersey retirement. I went to the Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, Adam Foote, all those. But it definitely was 100 times more jubilant and like meaningful. I think to like be able to be in his presence on his night for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like how you just rattle off the other 4 like it's no big deal. I mean, Cody is a super fan. It's actually pretty cool that you became a huge fan because they were just dominating right off the bat, and I was talking to Shadow, I think, just last night with you, and Shadow, weren't you the one that said, like, "Oh, I'm getting a Canucks one and an Avalanche one, and I'm an Avalanche fan because of when they were rolling over teams at the beginning?"
Yeah, so my fandom as a hockey fan, because I immigrated here in '96, and I didn't really get into hockey, say about 2000. Ha,
Hmm.
coincidence, right? So the first game I ever watched was a game, ironically, between the Canucks and the Avalanche, and that was when like guys like Peter Forsberg, Joe Sakic, Patrick Waugh, all those guys were just monsters. And I saw, I think one of the games, I don't remember if it was the 2000 season, but this basically solidified my fandom as an Avs fan back then when I saw Peter Forsberg, my favorite player to this day, just deke out an entire team. Guys are like trying to like push him, shove him off the puck. He's just shakes it off. He's like, "Nah, bro, I'm gonna score right now," and he did. And I'm like, I don't know who that is, but he's my favorite player. So I looked him up, Peter Forsberg. I'm like, yeah, he's my favorite player. So that fandom of the Avalanche never died.
Oh man,
But I won't consider myself as a diehard fan like you are, or like those other people I know. But I can still, support them, and knowing that this team is where my roots of hockey fandom came from, and obviously, like as a hometown Canucks guy, I'm like, okay, I'll cheer for the Canucks too, because hometown, and I'm setting myself up for disappointment anyways. So yeah, I definitely have a fandom in both teams, but the Avalanche is who I give the credit to for getting me into hockey in the first place. So, contrary to popular belief, it's not the Canucks or the Penguins or any other team, it's the Avalanche. And even during their down years, as of recent, I still had hope like they're going to do well. I know it, things suck, but they're going to do well. So, yeah, that is just like listening to you being able to go to these retirement ceremonies, it makes me kind of jealous, honestly, because I would have given my arm to go to Peter Forsberg's retirement ceremony because he is my ultimate hockey hero.
Cody, who's your favorite hockey player of all time?
oh geez, we've actually just been talking about it. I think it's that Forsberg fella.
So there you go.
I'm right there with you. I mean, Fopa was one of a kind, man. Absolutely.
It's just a tragedy of his style kind of made his career get cut short, but in his prime, I'm pretty sure you can test like he's damn near unstoppable.
Oh yeah. Speaking of like Peter Forsberg, that was another really incredible part about Milan's retirement ceremony is that they actually had Alex Tanguay and Peter Forsberg carry the Stanley Cup from like the first level onto the ice. That was a complete surprise to everyone, even Milan.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of looking up some jersey retirement ceremonies prior to us talking with Milan, and I was like, dude, the cup is not at a lot of people's jersey retirements, like at all. And I know there's two of them. We all know that. But still, and then I was like, "Oh, yeah, well, the Sedins didn't win one, so it wouldn't be at theirs, awkward." But then at the same time, there's a ton of players that do win cups, and that's a big reason they are retired, and they don't get that experience, so it was cool.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was insane because all the lights went down and like they just had a spotlight over on like some random part in the stands, and then yeah, here comes Fopa and Tanger bringing the Stanley Cup down for Milan's retirement. So and like and just like I said earlier, like Milan he played on a line with Alex and Peter through that entire cup winning year. So it's like it's just so fitting that those two are bringing it down and how I mean to see how many goals in that have come off all three of those guys' sticks in like in tandem and then to see this at Duke's culmination of his career, it's just magical, really.
I mean, like, it's cool because what the moment does when the cup is there, like, it goes from everyone in suits to them relaxing a little bit and being like, "Yeah, we won this. This is cool. Like, we're all here again together," and it was like a little reunion, and I noticed, like, they all kind of really appreciated that part of it. Because Cody, you went to the others. Did the cup show up to everybody's?
No, no, definitely not.
So, that's pretty special.
Uh, oh,
Um,
uh, absolutely. And I mean, yeah, just like you said, I think everybody can agree that when Stanley Cup is in the building, I think everyone's a little happier. There's a little bit bigger hitch in their step.
yeah, I agree. Or in Vancouver's case, the pitchforks get a little bit hotter.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a Stanley.
So, Cody, I'm really appreciate your take, and I know Shadow is gushing as much as I am. I'm glad that he was an Avs fan too. I knew that. I didn't know Fopa was his favorite player too. He can't be mine just because of what he did to Korea and Team Canada in the 90s. I still cringe about that, but that's what happens when you're a good player. So, anything else to tell us about the Hejduk retirement?
You know what was actually really cool? Zalata, his wife, actually, she she had sewn together like pictures of Milan's jersey, the 23, and she was actually handing them out to everybody saying thank you. So like she was saying thank you to everybody that had come and like handing out these little like hand stitched pictures of Milan's jersey, and I just thought that was just really cool. I don't know if like anybody else has ever done that, but I mean it was just really cool to see that she realized how important it was to not only Milan but everybody else there, because Milan was such a incredible part of our fandom and our love for the Avalanche. And so she was thanking everybody else for being like a fan of Milan's by handing out these little like stitchings, and I actually have one of them, and it's really cool. I just thought that was like a really super classy move.
Wow. I mean, we both know from talking to Milan, he's a classy guy, but sounds like he found an amazing partner to spend his life with. That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah, Zalata was great. Yeah, and the entire time she was just so happy for Milan, and she had at least like 20 to 30 of them that she was handing them out.
Maybe
I thought that was
23.
really cool.
That's
Maybe
really cool.
23. Yeah, maybe
Uh,
23.
all right, let me try to figure out how to segue this. Well, wow, what an amazing family. And I hear that they've had children since, and actually, wait a minute. They've had two twin boys that play hockey. Wait a minute. They're going to Harvard soon. Wait a minute. We just had Sedin twins retire in Vancouver. Uh-oh, looks like there's a vacancy. So Shadow, Sedin twin retirement, man, Wonder twins, Swedish twins, like my uh, I arguably my favorite Canucks just because of how much they meant to me when I moved to Vancouver, and maybe it was the same for you. Tell us about it.
So as soon as they retired or announced their retirement in the 17-18 season, we knew, you know, just there's going to be a retirement ceremony. There is no doubt that the Canucks would not retire 22 and 33. So I was waiting maybe out during the 18-19 season. I didn't think they would do that because, it's not like that year was a pretty
Mhm,
down year for the Canucks. And then the very next year, which was this past season, would have been the 50th anniversary. So I figured, they're going to
mhm.
probably do something with that during the 50th anniversary to make it a little more hurrah. And they did. They announced it. So I told myself, I'm going to go regardless of how much it costs. Um, just buying the ticket is just so stressful because tickets were going on for like 500, six
Oh,
hundred. Sometimes individually. I'm like, this is insane, but I like I don't know if I can spend 500 on one ticket. But a friend of mine who is a season ticket holder who wasn't able to go, he sold me one for 250. I'm like, yes, please. Give me that ticket right now. I'll give you my money. So
Decent guy.
that's how I was able to
Love
go.
that. Love that.
Yeah. 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 He doesn't try to scalp like most people do. So he's a good guy and I can vouch for him any day. So that's how I got to go. There were the ceremony. Uh, it was just amazing. They had guys like Roberto Luongo, Alex Burrows, Kevin Bieksa, Yannick Hansen, Marcus Naslund, Stan Smeo, Trevor Linden, um, and Ryan Kessler attend as as well as like their family and friends and everything. So that was really amazing to see because the
Oh,
pinnacle of their
totally.
careers would have been the 2011 Stanley Cup final run. And we don't talk about how that ended, but just how much they achieved as a duo with one team is something that I think everyone can agree that that's one hell of an achievement. Um, just being at this ceremony, it was amazing because you know it just brings back a lot of good
Hmm.
memories as a Canucks fan. During their heydays, just no look
Hmm.
passes, knowing where each other would be. Whoever their other winger was, whether it was Anson Carter or Alex Burrows or Yannick Hansen or whoever, they would just make that person better, and they would just help them. You know, This is what we're gonna do. Just be here when we say for you to be there, and you're gonna score." And they would be like, "Okay, sure, we'll see how that works." And they would get a goal like right after that play. So that's how dynamic those guys were during their heydays, and they had a video up like showing their past, achievements and everything, and it just definitely brings back really good memories of just jumping out of my seat and be like, "Holy crap, did they just do that again?"
They made plays that we will never see again.
Yeah, and you'll during their later years, guys like Connor McDavid, uh, they would he would admit like, yeah, whenever we had to play Vancouver, we would try to figure out a way to stop the Cities because even when they were on the decline, they were still pretty dangerous. And for someone of Connor McDavid's caliber to be like, yeah, we spent one practice trying to figure out how to stop him, it speaks to a lot about how freaking good they were, despite and unfortunately, just one thing that broke my heart a little during the ceremony was they had a corridor of like their medals and trophies that they won. Like they won the gold medal in 2006. Daniel won the silver in 2014, but Henrik wasn't there because injury. They had like the world championships, all these things, the Art Ross, all that. Just the one heartbreaking thing was there was no Stanley Cup ring to achieve that, which was super unfortunate. But it is how it is. But just each of them having achieved individual awards alone is something that only just we can just
I
dream about.
I just
So
I I'll gush over them forever because I just even know that they're great people in the community, just like Hejduk. These guys are doing amazing things for the hospital there in Vancouver, and they continue to live there and be part of their community for years to come. And their legacy will continue to bring lots of positive memories to Vancouver. And I'm so grateful for all of the plays and all of the memories that they gave us. But it's also just really amazing to me that, you have one win the Art Ross and then the next year the other one does. You have both of them be incredibly good players. I mean, in, not one carrying the other. They are two independent, amazing players that complement each other that much better. And I know Ross would say, like, the Kariya Selanne tandem is incredible. There is no way in my mind we'll ever see a better synergy between 2 players than we saw with Henrik and Daniel Sedin.
That's impossible. That is
yeah,
impossible. I mean, just from my outlook, I mean, Swedes have always been incredible passers, can always and can utilize the ice so well. And then when you double one Swede that can find ice and fit the puck in anywhere, that's the Sedin brothers, and there's just no way of stopping them.
yeah. Like I think if you look up on YouTube, I don't know who they faced against, but it was literally Henrik, I think, 200-foot pass to Daniel near the opponent's ice. And I don't think he was even looking. I don't think he even knew if Daniel was there, but he just passed it, bank pass all the way to the other end of the ice. Daniel gets it before any of the other team players did it or gets it, and he just scores. And you can see that exact play happened between Brock Besser and Elias Pettersson last year, where Pedersen does the exact same thing. Besser gets the puck ahead of the ass players and just scores, and everyone's just going crazy, like, "Oh my god,
Yep.
that's a Sedin play," considering the fact that Pedersen has never played with the Sedins. He came into the league 1 year after the Sedins retired. So you see that legacy still standing in the Canucks organization today. And a guy of Pedersen's caliber to, you know, maybe one day hold that mantle. I think he's already doing that, but just to live up to that kind of legacy, like that legacy is still there, whether, it'll be 5 years, 10 years from now, that what they've done for this city, what for this team is, it's just I, I
Yeah.
I get speechless just trying to talk
Me
about it
too.
right
It's
now.
really
So
fun to have another person that like shares the passion and appreciation because I could keep going on, but it's really awesome to see what you just described taking hold with the organization now. And, I've always joked with my friends that the Canucks are kind of like a pseudo team Sweden because they do have good Swedish presence on the team at all times. And I love Alex Edler. I
Yep.
loved Matthias Ohlund. All those guys were just solid defenders and really respectable guys too. And and not just in the Canucks organization. That play you're talking about is done around the NHL now. That whole dump it because the icing rule changed and my brother's going to be skating full speed to get it off the corner board to pop out into the center slot and me have a shot on net is done. And I'm not ready to give the Sedins credit, but I don't remember seeing it done before them. And to your other comment, Shadow, about like just look up you on YouTube that clip. Look up on YouTube like top assists of all time in the NHL. And as soon as you get into the top 20, the Sedins have half the list.
yeah. So going back to the retirement ceremony and
Oh yeah,
everything.
that
So
part.
oh yeah, the whole point of this. So ironically our opponent was the Chicago Blackhawks, and they gave that Sedin team a lot of tough times, so it's only appropriate that the opponent would be the Blackhawks.
Oh, yeah.
Um, just in terms of the ceremony itself, I think I missed out a couple of details. Like for those who don't know the Canucks history too well, Kevin Bieksa is
Oh
the
yeah.
ultimate comedian on the team. Like that guy can chirp for days, and he was also the guy who sent the Canucks to the Stanley Cup Finals in double overtime against San Jose in 2011. So it was only appropriate for someone like him, who's a fan favorite regardless. Like even after his trade, he's a fan favorite. So it was only appropriate for him to speak on behalf
Yes.
of them just
Yes.
before the Twins
Yes.
spoke. So the whole ceremony is on YouTube. So if you guys didn't watch it, feel free to do it. Just the guy is funny. He chirps them, but he also knows like it's out of love. It's out of mad respect for what the Cityans were able to do. And even he's acknowledged like their legacy in Vancouver will remain. Just not in the rink, outside the rink. Their charity work has been just amazing. And I'm sure, if you talk to people at Canucks for Kids or the Children's Hospital, they'll just talk endlessly of how much the twins spent time there, just getting to know people, to doing a lot of charity work. Not because they have to or just they're obligated. It's just they really care for the city, you know. And I at one point during an interview, they were like, we fell in love with the city before the city even knew who we were in 1999. Of course, it took us fans a while to kind of get like them and fall in love with who they are as players and people, but just they loved us first. And I think that legacy will remain in Vancouver for the foreseeable future. And like, if they don't have a statue somewhere in Vancouver, that's gonna be a freaking crime. I guarantee it.
I agree.
Vancouver Riot 2020, no Sedin statues.
That's funny.
Free,
Yeah, it's kind of
yeah,
like, it's been a while. We haven't had a riot. Oh, there's no statue yet. Oh, I made a change.org thing and it's been a month. Okay, riot time. It sounds like it's safe to say, though, that both ceremonies, in both of your opinions and eyes, was done well and done well for the fans, and the fans appreciated it, which is, I think, a great thing to be able to say about a ceremony. Not like I don't expect that from the fans, but I both feel from hearing your stories that they were done right and properly, which I like to hear for sure. And Shadow, I want to ask, one of the things that really kind of bothers me and about the whole jersey retirement ceremony is then there's a few people that in the Canucks organization won't have their jersey retired um, because they just didn't play long enough with the Canucks, but it's also because they fell on hard times and passed away. And so I know that like Canucks fans are a lot more familiar with the concept that we're not allowed to like Mark Messier. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little or as much about that as you want, but in particular, do you know the part related to wearing jersey number 11?
Ooh, my history's a little fuzzy, but based on what I remember, number 11 was last worn by a player who fortunately passed away um long time ago. And I wasn't even a fan of hockey, I don't think back then. I don't remember.
Mhm.
But like and then when Messier came to Vancouver after the 94 Cup win, after he beat the team, ironically, he apparently demanded that number to be unretired and also took the captaincy from Trevor Linden, who records apparently go to show that he offered it and then Messier took it, but he also demanded 11 to be unretired. So, um, and then the subsequent just fiasco of between him, Mike Keenan, and just the disaster that happened during his tenure here just made Canucks fans really, really despise him. And I personally wasn't alive or just a fan during that time, but just reading about it just makes me really mad about just how dare he, takes a, a dead player's number because he, for whatever reason, he thought he deserved it or something like that. So, um, honestly, I'm not the best person to talk about it. Maybe you can ask El Damaso Grande in the Discord to kind of talk about it because I'm pretty sure he knows more about this than I do. But just based on what I know, he basically handcuffed the team
Yeah.
into doing what he wanted. And Mike Keenan, the coach at the time, was of no help either. He basically encouraged that. He also apparently bullied Trevor Linden because of his coaching um coaching what do you call it, coaching habits, for lack of a better word. Like the way he coached, like it didn't sit well with Linden. And to this day, Linden's a fan favorite. And going back to the ceremony, that guy received a thunderous applause out of all the guests that were announced. So that just shows a testament to how much he's still loved in Vancouver. But during that Messier era, he did his best to be as positive as possible. But when you have a guy, toxic figure like Messi and Keenan in the locker room, there's only so much you can do. It's only so much you can stand. But in terms of just, yeah, Messi left a bad taste in everyone's mouth, and that's also coming off a cup win that his New York Rangers beat the Canucks in '94 for the Stanley Cup, and then he
Yeah.
comes to Vancouver the year after. So that kind of made a lot of Canucks fans really suspicious and salty. Like, why do we want him? He just beat us. Like for example, if Brad Marchand came to Vancouver after 2011, I think people would be a little PO'd concerning how much he was a brat. I'm sure he's a damn good player, and I'm sure we would have loved to have him. Like the feeling might have been gone, but just at that time, if someone you hate so much that just beat your team in a Stanley Cup final comes to your team, you would still be a little salty, wouldn't you? Would you not? So, in terms of the history, I'm a little fuzzy on that, but
Talking about, you basically just nailed it. I think that's funny. It's like, oh, well, you might have to consult some experts, but you actually ticked all the boxes in enough of a way that people get the idea completely. I mean, um, so good job because like it's really hard to pinpoint one specific reason why Canucks fans hate Messier because there's a lot of ways that you can look for an excuse to do so. And it's because he took the captaincy from Linden, which I think in a way makes us respect Linden more because we know that he offered it And what would be the classy thing for Messier to do is decline it, because that's what Gretzky does when he goes to the Rangers. And it's just like an indication that Messier is like, "Oh, you're gonna give it to me? Yeah, even though you've been the captain of this team forever." He also kind of eventually forced a trade of Linden out of Vancouver as well with Keenan, which doesn't help. And also the Keenan Messier thing is because of their time in New York together and the 94 finals, like you're talking about. Um, but the jersey related thing is also something that you touched on, which is like it's Wayne Maki. Okay. So this is the problem I have with this situation. So Wayne Maki died in 1974 from a brain aneurysm, essentially. And he didn't play a very long career with the Canucks, but he was a well respected player by the Canucks, and he wore number 11. And so since his death, even all the way back in 74, no one has worn number 11. And then he comes in and he asks for it. And it's like maybe the dude isn't aware. So give him a pass, right? But the reason it's so annoying to me is because the Mackey family protested, and it was like, "No, I don't care. I still want it." And like that
Right.
to me, I'm like, "Oh, okay, buddy." Like the irony that there is a leadership award named after you in the NHL is just so mind-boggling to me at that point. So,
I Yeah, I agree with having a leadership award. Like, who are you, despite your achievements, to say that you deserve an award named after you for leadership? And yes, I totally forgot about that detail. The Mackey family did say no to him wanting 11, but he still got it anyway. He demanded it, and that's what rubs Canucks fans the wrong way.
yeah.
And to this day, those who were alive during that time, they'll despise Messier till their graves because of that, because of how disrespectful and how unleadership like that was. And yeah, ever since he left, no one's worn 11 because pretty sure new players coming in, they're like, I don't want to grab flack from fans if I grab 11, so I'm just gonna go with a different number.
Oh, they're just smart and have common sense and respect.
Yeah,
And
same with number 28 and 37. Those aren't retired, but they've been taken out of circulation because of the last guys who wore those, and out of respect, um, no nuke player or traded player is gonna wear those. Although for 37, apparently the Winnipeg Jets have been granted author permission from the Ripon family to for one of the players to wear it out of respect and honor. So there is a chance, you know, that could happen in Vancouver, but I severely doubt that will
yeah,
happen.
yeah, you're also gonna do very okay in trivia later. Okay, so Cody, I'm curious. The other question I have for you around this is it's Ray Bourque. Ray Bourque has his number retired despite the fact that he was only with the Avalanche for 15 months. But the justification goes that, I mean, and no argument from this guy here, that Bourque is a legend and his contributions outweighed his time spent there. And there was a lot of respect for Bourque throughout the league, even in his early days in Boston. So I just wanted to know if you agree with the retirement, why, and if you wanted to weigh in on that whole debate, if you think there even is one.
I mean, I definitely see why they retired the Bork's number in Colorado. Uh, the fact that he spent so little time here and he really had more of an illustrious career in Boston. I mean, obviously, I just it's kind of on the fence of like why do we do it? But I mean, obviously, the one thing he was chasing his entire career, he wins it in Colorado, and I mean, was a gigantic part of the team in doing so. To be completely honest with you, I'd probably think about maybe somebody else before I thought of Bork, because of what they were to the Avs. But I mean, we're talking about Alexei Gusarov, or I mean, Uwe Krupp, just some D's off the top of my head. I mean, it's awesome that Bourque did win the cup with us. I mean, obviously for his own career and my own selfish reasons. But I mean, it is what it is. It's I mean, I'm proud to have 77 up in my rafters, but it's just it is kind of it is borderline like did we really have to do that, or it's kind of it's kind
Was
of
he
just what just the player that Ray Bourque was, and the fact that he got to play on the Avalanche is a really great thing, and now his numbers in our rafters. So I mean, it's not like I'm fully against it by any means. It's like, oh yeah, get 77 out of here. I mean, I'm very proud to have had him on the team, and for him to win a Stanley Cup on the Avalanche. So, I mean, I don't see I can't really think of anybody who would really be so much against it. Like, yeah, I don't want Ray Bourque's number retired on my team. What the hell's up with that? I mean, I don't see anybody really wanting to dispute that.
Yeah, weren't Bruins fans like they weren't salty about him going, if I remember. Like they were cheering him on, like, yeah, this is your last chance, man. Go chase a cup. Go get that cup. And I don't know. I'm pretty sure this is right, but he's still revered and loved in Boston as
Oh
well as
100%?
yeah,
Colorado. Like it's not like okay, you can screw off if you want to chase a cup. Like so much for loyalty. It's like, you know, you bled and sweated for this team for so long. Like, yeah, go go get a cup. It's your time, and we'll support you 100% of the way. So, honestly, like in terms of Ray Bork, like I think that's such an awesome camaraderie, for lack of a better word, between two teams. For
agree.
regarding one player. Having spent so long at one team, and then just saying, I want to chase a cup. That's the one I want to do. This is my last shot. If I don't, so be it. And for the team that he played for so long, cheering him on, I think that's just amazing. And I can't say the same for a lot of players who went to chase a cup, and you know after spending so much time in one team and just wanting to chase a cup. I don't know how many players have the privilege of having their former team back you and support you all the way during your cup chasing years. So yeah, I think that's just something notable and something just awesome to remember during his
And I
time
think
here.
that really actually just speaks to the character and player that was Ray Bourque. I mean, your team that you played for so long, that have seen chances to win a Stanley Cup, then you leave and they're still cheering for you. I think that really speaks to his character. The only player that I could think of that it would be in the same kind of boat would be Daniel Alfredson when he left Ottawa to go play for Detroit that one last year. I mean, they still absolutely love Alfie in Ottawa. I mean, he was made a Canadian citizen, and like everybody was extremely excited after he retired. So, I mean, not a lot of players get that, get that status.
Yeah.
And I think, Cody, and I'm just being devil's advocate because I have no problem with this. It's the fact that Bourque was the first Avalanche number retired that just it's weird
I,
to me.
I,
Like I feel like they were like, "Oh shit, we're a franchise and we should probably have a retired number, so let's do that now."
Was
yeah,
he
he
really?
was.
Yes.
I thought it would have been Sakic or like Patrick Wall, but yeah, looked him up now, and 2001. That's insane.
Here's the other part. They announced it before the Bruins say they're
Yeah,
gonna
I
announce it.
mean,
Whoa,
So
the
that's a
it's
way it
little
like
weird.
was,
so
yeah,
it's
the way it
weird, right?
was,
It's a
like
little
that's what I,
weird.
yeah, I'll agree with you all the way. The way it was handled was really weird. But I mean, when I mean Joe was still playing, and I mean
Yeah.
Patrick was still playing. I mean, obviously Forsberg had moved on to a couple different teams, and I mean even Foot was still playing. So really, all like the legendary players that had played for the Avs were not retired yet. So it's like I mean Ray Bourque's the only one that actually at that time was like retired, and just I guess it just worked out that way. It's extremely odd that he was the first number retired, and especially because he didn't have a long tenure with the Avalanche. It is strange. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the whole scenario is just a very odd thing to think about.
It is a little weird how it was handled, and I would have liked to have seen Boston get first crack at the announcement and stuff, but I also feel like the Avalanche were just trying to become a franchise with history as soon as possible. We're taking advantage of the fact that we move here, we win a cup, we want our fans, we want to raise a number to the rafters, we want to start establishing a presence here. Like I don't knock them for doing it, other than the fact that the only thing that kind of like from a polite or classy point of view, I just kind of wish Boston got first
Yeah,
dibs,
I fully
you know.
agree. I
Um,
absolutely agree.
I agree.
but I think everyone on this call will agree that that moment of Sakic passing Bourque the cup is the best celebration I've ever seen in the NHL for this cup
Hands
celebration.
down.
Or if it's not, it's in the top 5 for everybody who knows anything about hockey.
Oh, I tear up even to this
Oh,
day just
same.
watching that. Just good God, like the emotions that he must have felt. Like,
It's like, I won't cry zooms in on kid who's crying, "Oh, well, fuck me. Alright, never mind." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty
and
much.
Yeah,
then,
that was
when you see his son crying for his dad, I'm just like, "Okay, I don't know. If you have no soul and aren't crying right now, something's
yeah.
wrong with you, man."
Yeah, I'm getting a little emotional talking
Agreed.
about it right
Yeah, I'm
now
getting a
too.
little
So
choked up.
Oh,
moving
Getting a
on.
little choked up.
yeah, no, seriously. I totally agree. So, guys, I really appreciate you coming on. We're gonna wrap it up now with some trivia. It's all around jersey retirements and some controversial or tidbits. Every trivia is different in terms of if it's multiple choice or true false, but it always is 3 questions. It always is if you get 2 of 3 right, you get a prize, and it always is you get a prize from our sponsor. So that's really exciting. It's just we don't have a sponsor yet. So the prize is basically just whatever I feel like giving you guys. And knowing we're Jersey addicts so far, I've just thought I think a tub of OxyClean is everyone's favorite accessory. So why not? That's what's on the line tonight. You get to soup some jerseys if you do well in trivia. Does that sound good
Oh,
to you
lovely.
guys?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Okay, so I've got a question for each one of you guys designed around 3 different topics. So the first one is goal celebrations for players with retired numbers. And so Cody, your question is what celly is Hejduk famous for?
Swim, baby, the swim.
Yeah, so tell us the background quickly on that celly and why
I
he did
mean,
it.
Dallas overtime goal. It's just Milan. I think actually, Popa set him up on just a sick ass backhand. And slips it in, skates around the side of the boards, does a little wiggle, flies belly first on the ice, and just starts swimming to safety, man.
Oh, it was so great, right? It was like a new take on the kayak. I fucking loved it. It was
Oh,
great.
it was. I mean, it was an incredible. Like I was watching with my family and just cracking up after that. It was the best thing I think I've ever seen ever.
All right, Shadow, here's your question around Sellies, and it's not related to retired numbers, but it is related to unofficially retired numbers. Okay. Alexander Burrows sometimes does this celebration when he scores a goal to honor his friend who passed away, Luc Bourdon, whose number is unofficially retired by the Canucks. What is the celebration that Alexander Burrows does?
The bow and arrow towards the sky.
Whoop. That's right. So explain.
So, for those who don't know, Luke Bourdon, he passed away in a motorcycle crash in 2008. He was very good friends with Alex Burrows. So just on occasion, whenever Burrows scores a goal, he would imitate, shooting a bow and arrow towards the sky and just pointing up. And in honor of his friend Luke. The most recent I remember he's done is his overtime goal in Game 2 against the Bruins in the finals. Um, yeah, that's the most recent I think he's done it. I don't remember if he's done it since, but that,
Yeah, it's I
yeah,
every time I see him do that, man, I freaking love it because that was Luc Bourdon's celebration. That's the obvious tie in there. Um, oh man, I freaking love seeing that. And like as a Canucks fan, we saw that this last year a little bit too with Troy Stetcher. Like
right.
he scores and he looks skyward, and it's also like the Martin St. Louis scoring on Mother's Day when his mom passes away, and I'm just like,
Wow.
oh man, it'll get me every time. Like,
Yep.
hey, so Ross, your first question is what Selly is Selanne famous for, where he did this one in a Jets jersey?
Oh yeah, no, he did the whole. He threw his glove up and just shot that out of the sky. So
Freaking love it, man.
I
He's
love
one of my
that. I
best
love that,
ones.
Sally. Oh my
I've
god.
never had the balls to do that one in any league, shape, or form ever.
No, well, I feel him and Milan's are like the two best like Sellies because you got Milan swimming.
Yeah,
You got Solani just throwing his glove up in the air, shooting it down like it's a live bird. So, I
it's pretty
mean,
amazing.
yeah,
You know what I love about that is that he goes on to play for the Ducks, and it kind of looks like a duck hunt situation. I feel
right?
like it was a missed opportunity. They could have done more with that once they got to the Ducks. Anyway,
Right.
great job. So you're 1 for 1 so far, and then your next question is related to unofficially retired numbers with your club. Okay. So your question is two Anaheim Ducks players have won the Conn Smythe Trophy, but only one has their number retired. So who is the other player who has unofficially had their number retired and no one has worn it since his retirement 10 years ago?
And he was also on the losing end of it too.
Oh, he
So
knows it.
that was JSG here. Jean
Bingo.
Sebastian Ziegler. I love him. He was stand up for us like since we got him. Like seriously. The Avs got him too late, but Calgary, Hartford,
Do you think his number will get retired by the Ducks?
it better be. He has been a staple in this franchise or in that franchise for all of the detrimental, like the 2003 playoffs, and then he's winning the 2007 Stanley Cup. So he has had a huge, huge impact on that whole entire franchise for us.
Yeah, I expect him to get there. And I think with Jaguar too, I think one of the moments I really love about how you said they got him, the Avs got him late in the career. And
Oh yeah.
similar to what you're saying earlier about how, Kariya and Selanne don't retire at the same time, but they get inducted at the same time. Jiggy doesn't finish his career with Anaheim, but he
Nope.
plays his last game in the same game against Anaheim that Selanne plays his last game.
Yes, and that was at the pond too, if I remember.
So
So
how freaking cool is that? That
yeah.
after we all know Selanne is the legend that he is in every category for the Ducks, he also is like, you know what? This moment is just as much for Jiggy as it is for me.
Oh yeah.
And for those unfamiliar, you got to watch the clip. But he basically stops the spotlight just being on him and goes over to Shiger, and they take a victory lap together. It's freaking beautiful.
Oh yeah.
So Cody, your question: the Avalanche have moved from Quebec, and when that happened, they unretired 4 players' numbers from the Quebec Nordiques franchise, meaning those numbers are back in circulation technically for anyone on the Avalanche to wear. And now with the reverse retro jerseys being released and the Avalanche doing their threads, there's bound to be controversy over whether or not those numbers get used or not. So this is your question. It's multiple choice. It is, which one of these is not one of the players who was originally had their number retired by the Nordiques? Okay. So all of the players I'm about to list were retired by the Nordiques except one. And you have to tell me which one of these was not retired.
All right.
Is it JC Tremblay, Mark Tardif, Grant Fuhr, Michael Houlet, or Peter Stastny?
Oh, you know what? I think I gotta go Fuhr.
Correct.
I thought so.
Way to
I
go.
thought so.
He
Didn't have a very good.
he
He didn't have a very good career with Quebec.
I mean, he just didn't like what we've been talking about. It, in my opinion, he's a legend and he's in the Hall of Fame. He just didn't have a tenure long enough with that club to justify retirement. That's all. I think that's why everyone loved when Stastny came for the Avalanche, because his dad played for the Nordiques and stuff like that, and there was always like a big soft spot for him with the
Yeah,
history there and stuff. But
him using his pops number. I thought that was awesome. I thought that
exactly.
was great.
So that was my tie in there, was like, it's kind of cool because every now and then you see the opposite of a Mark Messier, where it's like, actually, yeah, I do love the fact that you unretired that number because your son is using it. That is effing cool, right?
Agreed.
Okay. So you guys are just, doing great. Shadow, looks like Cody, you're in the green already. You got OxyClean bonus question headed your way, but Shadow,
Holy.
you still got to get one right. So I have a feeling you got this one though. We've talked about Luc Bourdon. We've talked about Wayne Maki. And my question for you is, there's another number no Canuck has ever worn since his death in August 2011. Can you name the player and number?
Rick Rippin, 37.
Correct. And for those of you who don't know who Rick Rippin is, you should. And there's a lot of reasons you should. He's part of an initiative on doing mental health awareness that he wanted to start when he was still alive. He passed away from mental illness issues. It's called Project 11. It's actually run by the GM of someone related to the Winnipeg Jets organization. Rick Rippin was arguably, by every NHL player's standards of all time, the best pound for pound fighter and enforcer in the NHL. That guy had no business winning fights that he did. And he played all the time so hard. And so I'm so glad that no one has the disrespect to take that number. And I'm glad you knew that answer. Anything else you want to add about that?
Well, just that he was very good friends with Kevin Bieksa, who I mentioned before. So after his death, Bieksa started, trying to bring more awareness to mental health and depression, and how it affects anyone and everyone. And I believe during his time, he also spoke at like universities and those TED Talk kind of conferences about mental health and how it's important to keep each other accountable. Like if you notice a friend not acting usually the way they are, check up on them to know that everyone's fighting some kind of mental battle, and that it's important to be kind and to just help each other as much as possible. And I believe that program is still around, just in a
Hmm.
different perspective in Vancouver, but it's definitely helped kickstart, mental illness in the NHL, I would say.
Yep. And good ad because okay, so these are just bonus questions now. I think you also kind of want to see if you can get them right.
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
I've got so the last question is, I've never tried this question before. You have 10 seconds. And when I stop talking, you have to give me an answer, but you're only allowed to give one answer. So whatever you say is your final answer. So think about it, but don't take longer than 10 seconds. And I can't tell you the question because as soon as I finish the question, that's when your 10 seconds starts. So do you guys at least understand the premise of the question?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. So there are multiple correct answers options for each club. And your question is, what number has never been worn by your franchise?
83.
God,
99.
7?
Yeah, buddy.
No, that
That
was
was clever.
Cagliano.
Yeah.
Nope.
I was like, I wonder if anyone will go 99 because it was like retired league wide. So that would have been like a fucking layup. So
Oh, easy.
clever guy.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's cheating a little bit, but I'll take it.
No, it's not. That's you knowing the game of hockey, you know? So, I'm glad that you got that one. And, just to Cody, sorry, you're wrong. Matt Nieto wore 83 from 2017 to 2020.
Oh shit! Yeah. Oh my god. That's right.
Yeah, I was thinking of
So
Nieto. I'm like, wait a minute.
great job, guys, on the trivia. You got a tub of OxyClean coming your way, so congrats on that. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And it was awesome to have all three of you here tonight. And I'm just really thankful for your time. So before we sign off and head over to Milan Hejduk, I'm just curious, do any of you guys want to give any thanks or shout outs or polyester service announcements?
I just want to say thanks for having me on, man. I love talking about hockey jerseys, hockey, anything. And yeah, thanks to everybody that's listening. And yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me on. I know the ceremony for me just happened not too, like about, I don't know, 10 months ago, but it's really such a relief to be able to talk about it and with a community that, knows and really shares that kind of passion. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. I look forward to the final product. I look forward to, speaking with you guys again in the future.
Agreed.
I would say to the listeners, definitely, as I've heavily recommended, I kind of implore you actually to, if you can, go to an induction. It is the funnest thing in the world. The whole entire experience is amazing. And then, yeah, jersey retirements too. Those are always just a blast. But yeah, friends and family, thank you, Daniel, for having me on your wonderful podcast and talking about my experiences. Appreciate you, and we'll be talking to you soon there, Daniel.
Thanks again, Ross. I'm just going to say big shout out to Milan Hejduk for coming on the show and giving us some answers. I also want to plug this other podcast I'm a part of. You know, Cody, do you remember what we do? Oh, yeah, On the Bench with Beaks. That's a pretty sweet place to check out. So definitely hit that up. And what you're about to hear is just part of the On the Bench with Beaks episode. So if you like the questions we asked him about his jersey retirement, and why he wears number 23 or 24 in international competition, awesome. Check out the full interview because it's got some great bangers in there too from Cody and Ross and the other guys too. So
Oh yeah.
thanks everyone for listening. Really appreciate your support, and we'll catch you next time. I do kind of love too that when you're capping off your career and you're able to see your number go into the rafters there, you join an elite company, but you're all playing at the same time and you're all kind of making one line together, which I always thought was kind of neat. And I was looking up your jersey retirement ceremony, and it if you could describe it in one word, it seemed like it was awesome. And you've said it's awesome, and then I watched the video, and it seems like the whole time you're just this kid being like, "Awesome, awesome, awesome" to everybody that you meet. So I'm just curious now, looking back over that and what those guys meant to you. Would you like to elaborate beyond the one word "awesome" and tell us what that was like for you?
Oh, phenomenal. Something like growing up back in Czech Republic. There's absolutely no way you're thinking this is gonna happen. Maybe you can dream about it, but there's no way it's gonna happen. Really, what the odds are really, and if really it finally it actually did happen. It's kind of surreal, really, and every time I come back to Pepsi Center, which what is it now? Actually, they renamed it now, right?
The ball.
The
arena.
ball arena.
Ball Arena, that's right. So the Ball Arena now, it used to be Pepsi Center. Anytime I come there, it's a treat to look up to rafters and you see your jerseys amongst the great. That's phenomenal. And every time I look up there, like you mentioned, we all played in the similar era. I wish we won more cups. That every time that comes to my mind, like it's so at least so. I mean, the team before me won '96. We won 2001. So I remember my first 4 years. We went 98, 99. So we went to conference finals, lost to Game 7. Next year we went to conference finals, lost to Game 7, twice to Dallas. Third year we won the cup. The year after we lost Game 7 to Red Wings. Like we were close to being in the finals.
Close.
Right? We lost 3 Game 7s in the conference finals. One game away from three other times then winning the cup, being 1 game away from the Stanley Cup finals. So I'm looking back like almost wasted opportunities that we could have 2, 3 of them, not just one.
Did you just get handed 23 in training camp and then it was your number? Or then you just like wore 24 internationally? So I was curious, like if anyone in your family like has numbers for significance, if you took numbers for significance, or anything about your jersey numbers you want to talk about.
So my dad played with 13. I never wore 13, and with the 23, that's exactly right. I show up for the training camp. This is the number they gave me. I made a team, so I'm like, yeah, this is working. I kept 23 all my career. It was no really. I didn't pick it, but early I was not super excited about 23, but I started liking it and I love it now. So I kind of grew into it really.
And what was 24 all about? Was there someone wearing 23 on the
Yeah,
Czech team?
There was Peter Svoboda. He played, I think way over 1,000 games and played for Philadelphia Flyers. So he had 23 already. That's why I was wearing 24.